Hi y'all, this is Eva from the book blog astripedarmchair.wordpress.com, and I'm here for yet another edition of Library Loot. I got a lot of books for the RIP challenge. And I know a lot of people probably say the RIP challenge, but whatever. I prefer less syllables. So we're going to start with those. First up, The Dreaming by Queenie Chan. This was my first manga book. I read a review of it on some blog, and it looked like not typical manga and something I would find fun. Twin sisters are at a creepy boarding camp out in the bush of Australia. For me, I've already read it. The plotline was a little shallow, but it was still interesting, so I'll probably read the next volume. Then there's 4 and 20 Blackbirds by Sherry Priest. This is a Southern Gothic style book that Chris over at Steph's Dreams Are Made On recommended forever ago. I'm about halfway through it. I have times when I really like it and times when I don't, so we'll see what happens there. It's weird doing Library Loot later in the week when I've already read like half the books. Okay. Madeline's Ghost by Robert Girardi, which is set in New York and New Orleans. I already read this one too. I just finished it this morning. And I have to say I wasn't a huge fan of the way that Girardi depicted any women, so of course I didn't enjoy it as much as I would have otherwise, but whatever. Then Unbelievable by, Stacey Horn. I saw this reviewed over at Citizen Reader. I love her blog name. And it's investigations into ghosts, poltergeist, telepathy, and other unseen phenomena from the Duke Parapsychology Laboratory. I'm going to give it a go. Hopefully it'll be a good one like Will Storr versus the Supernatural and not like Spook by Mary Roach that I hated with a passion. So we'll see. I like the cover though, don't you? Here, let's look at it again. Woo! And look, the same little colors are on the back for the blurbs. I'm a big fan of colors. And Joplin's Ghost by Tananarive Due. I don't know if that's how you say that. I came across her when I was looking for African American authors, now that I'm reading more books by people of color. And all of her books have a supernatural aspect, and this one involves a young girl who becomes haunted by the ghost of a musician, so it should be interesting. It's huge, too, so we'll see. Then The Ghost Orchid by Carol Goodman. I read her first book, The Lake of Dead Languages, which was all about classics and set in this tiny private school, and it was really good. So this one was about seances and spiritualism and creepy dead children and gardens. It was awesome. It lived up to all my expectations. It was very gothic. Finally, and I'm really excited about this one, Poe's Children, the New Horror in Anthology, edited by Peter Straub. Do you see how creepy that cover is? Can you see like the creepy doll baby? And look at the bag. There's another thing of creepy dolls. Sorry about the glare. There you go. I came across this one by accident, and the cover was just so awesome that I couldn't turn it down, and I wanted an anthology anyway for the short story challenge that's part of RIP. And also it has one of my favorite Neil Gaiman stories, October in the Chair, in it. So, and it spans, it's not just new stories, it's old stories as well, so it should be interesting since I haven't read that much by horror authors, so hopefully I'll find some new favorites. Okay, then we're going to talk about nonfiction. I went on a bit of a nonfiction rampage this time. Next week you'll see I got way too many novels to overcompensate. I need to work on balance. So first up we have Notes from the Hyena's Belly by Miga Mizlekia. This is a memoir by a guy who grew up in Ethiopia. See, there he is. I really like author photos. And I just finished this one this morning as well, and it was incredible. It was so much more than I was expecting, so I'm sure you'll hear a gushing review of it soon. Grace Eventually by Anne Lamott. This is an essay collection I got because I'm way behind on my essay reading for the My Year of Reading Dangerously Challenge. And it's also about Christianity. Lately I've decided to try to find a church that I like. I've been agnostic for a really long time now, so it's interesting trying to delve back into religion. And obviously, since I'm me, I decided to do some books. So we also have The Heart of Christianity by Marcus Borge. How we can be passionate believers today, rediscovering a life of faith, which is what I want to do. So, perfect subtitles. Complications by Atul Gawande. This is a collection of essays by Gawande, who is a surgeon, and at the time he was a resident. I already wrote a gushing review of it yesterday, so obviously I loved it. Mirroring People by, hang on, an Italian guy, Marco Iacoboni. I don't speak Italian. This was, I saw it at Barnes & Noble. The paperback cover is really cool looking, and it sounded interesting. The subtitle is The New Science of How We Connect with Others. But about 50 pages in, and so far there's been way too much talk about experimenting on animals, which really upsets me, so I kind of have to skim it, so I'm not sure how much I'm getting out of it. But I really don't want to know about putting needles in monkeys' brains. I mean, I won't talk about that. Then we have The Code Book by Simon Singh. I mainly got this because I really need some nonfiction by authors who are people of color, and it's been awful trying to find it that isn't memoirs, because I'm not a huge memoir person. This is called The Evolution of Secrecy, From Mary, Queen of Scots to Quantum Cryptography. I wrote a biography of Mary earlier this year. She's one of my favorite queens. But I like math, and I like spies, so hopefully it will be good. Almost done with nonfiction. Then we have Phantoms in the Brain by V.S. Ramachandran, I think so, and Sandra Blakesley. And look, do you see who the foreword's by? Oliver Sacks, the man that I would marry if only we knew each other. Yeah, this is Probing the Mysteries of the Human Mind. I got it for the Science Book Challenge. Once again, Ramachandran is not white, so that's an advantage in my nonfiction reading right now. And I love reading about neuroscience, so. And, I mean, seriously, if Oliver Sacks wrote the foreword, I would probably read, like, a car manual, so let's be honest. Finally, Wrapped in Rainbows, The Life of Zora Neale Hurston by Valerie Boyd. I read, Their Eyes Were Watching God earlier this year by Zora Neale Hurston, and I loved it. I was blown away by how good it was. So I thought it would be really neat to read a biography of her, and she was in Harlem during, you know, the Harlem Renaissance, so you know it's going to be really fascinating. And isn't the cover cool? I like the cover. Ooh. And finally we have the random fiction that I picked up this week. First, Reservation Blues by Sherman Alexie. I read a really good short story by Sherman Alexie last week, and it really impressed me, so I decided I wanted to read his novels, and so I went with his first published one. He published some short story collections and poetry before this, but in my heart, even though I love short stories and I enjoy poetry, I'm a total novel girl. So, Bayou by Jeremy Love. I got this after seeing wonderful reviews of it at Anna's blog and Chris's blog, and it's a graphic novel. I've already reviewed it and obviously read it. It's really beautiful. It's the kind of graphic novel that once you finish it, you want to read it right away again. And I can't wait for Volume 2 to come out because it ends on a total cliffhanger. Then The Reef by Edith Wharton. This is for the Classics Challenge, which I'm now caught up on, but yeah, for a while it was touch and go. I love Edith Wharton, and I haven't read anything by her in a few years, and I just finished this one this morning, and it was as good as I would expect. Also pretty much as depressing as you would expect from a Wharton, so. Go Tell It on the Mountain by James Baldwin. This is for the Banned Books Challenge, which only covers the month of September. So I started reading this when I first got it from the library last week, and it was still August. And I had read 50 pages before I even knew it, so I realized that I would have to stop or else I was going to finish it before the challenge officially started. So I'm really excited that now I can get back to reading it. Yes, I'm a total challenge nerd, in case you hadn't noticed that. The Book of Secrets by M.G. Vasenji. This is for the Orbis Terrarium Challenge. It was set in Tanzania and Eastern Africa. But now I found out that Vasenji is also considered a Canadian author, so I don't know how I'm going to end up working that. Anyway, I read this one and it was awesome. You'll hear more about it in my review because I'm sure I've already talked for way too long. And finally we have Agnes Grey by Anne Bronte. I started this on CD during my road trip down to Texas, but then I didn't finish it, and the narrator was kind of annoying me, so I thought it would be nicer to read it in actual physical form. But they only had the large print edition, so this is what I'll be reading, which, you know, it should be interesting. I've had to read large prints in the past, and I don't have a problem with it, but then when I go back to normal books, the books feel way too small. So there you have it. That's all my library loot. Thanks so much for watching, And hopefully I'll see you next week. Bye!